Welcome into Steelers Talk. I'm your host, Jack Sperry. I'm coming to you today from my apartment here in Dallas, Texas, where it's my day off, but we got some very intriguing Steelers news and rumors to discuss today. So for extensive Steelers coverage, whether I'm in the office, in the studio, or whether I'm here at home, whenever Steelers news and rumors breaks, we're going to be discussing it right here on the show. So make sure you guys click that subscribe button for the most extensive Steelers coverage for free that you're going to find anywhere here on YouTube. All right, so the news of the day around the National Football League is that Derek Carr, the quarterback for the New Orleans Saints and a potential Steelers quarterback target this offseason, has decided to retire from the National Football League. He has a shoulder injury that requires surgery, and he's going to be missing the entirety of the 2025 NFL season, and he's just deciding to call it a career at this point in time. Now, of course, this means that there is yet another quarterback possibility taken away from the Pittsburgh Steelers at this point in time in the offseason, and that likely means that the Steelers starting quarterback next year is likely going to be either Aaron Rodgers, and it sounds like the team is willing to wait for Rodgers at least a little while longer, or at some point they're going to just pull the trigger on a trade for Kirk Cousins with the Atlanta Falcons, because really there's no other teams out there that I think are considering a trade for Cousins at this point. So the Steelers know they have pretty much as much time as they need to wait for Rodgers, and then if you get to the point in the offseason where you're no longer willing to wait on the four-time NFL MVP, you just pull the trigger on a Kirk Cousins trade, which will probably be some sort of compensatory or some sort of contingent late round draft pick that can turn into a mid-round draft pick if Cousins plays a certain amount of snaps for the Steelers this year. So that's kind of the news on that. And honestly, just looking ahead to 2026 now, I wouldn't be surprised if Carr comes out of retirement, especially if he has an opportunity to play with like Devontae Adams again, or if there's a chance for him to start somewhere, maybe even the Pittsburgh Steelers, who knows. I think he's somebody that once that shoulder is repaired, and if there's an opportunity to be a starter for an NFL team next offseason, wouldn't shock me at all if he decides to come back and play for a new team next year. So just keep that in mind when it comes to next year's quarterback search if the Steelers are looking for a quarterback. Now, because Derek Carr is now retiring, and the Saints, of course, their quarterback depth chart looks like Tyler Shuck, the second-round rookie out of Louisville this year. They also have Spencer Rattler, who they took on day 3 last year, played a little bit for them, didn't play all that great, and then Jake Haener. So it certainly seems like Tyler Shuck, their rookie quarterback, is in line to be their Week 1 starter, and there are some people speculating that Aaron Rodgers could potentially, not go to the Pittsburgh Steelers and sign with the New Orleans Saints again. So the question becomes, is that actually a possibility? Would Rodgers kind of feel like the Saints situation is more favorable to the Pittsburgh Steelers? And I think the answer to that question, guys, is clearly no. All right, I think that he definitely has more respect for Mike Tomlin, who is the longest tenured head coach in American professional sports right now. He's talked about his respect for Coach T time and time and time again throughout his career, and he juxtaposed that next to Kellen Moore, who's in his first stint as a NFL head coach. He's heading into the first year as an NFL head coach. Definitely think that the head coach respect factor definitely plays a part in this decision, and Mike Tomlin clearly wins that competition between these two teams. Also, Rodgers is good friends with Arthur Smith, the Steelers' offensive coordinator. He talked about his friendship with Art on the Pat McAfee show when he made his appearance last month, and then also he has a relationship with Tom Arth, the Steelers' quarterbacks coach, who shared a quarterback room with Rodgers back, I believe, in 2006 with the Green Bay Packers before Arth was eventually cut from the Packers that offseason. Also, Pittsburgh's defense is in a much better place than Nola's is at right now. They've got a lot of young players. The defense hasn't played exactly up to their standard ever since Dennis Allen left a couple years back. Or not a couple years back, he left last year, but the defense really fell apart last year, in my opinion. And, they got Cam Jordan, but he's getting older. They have some problems on the interior of the defensive line, whereas the Steelers, they have great depth along the defensive line. They've got a good pair of off-ball linebackers in Patrick Queen, of course, Peyton Wilson. And then the secondary, I think, got better this year with Darius Slay and Juan Thornhill being added to the group this offseason. So the defense is a lot better. And then you also compare the weapons. Chris Olave is a really good weapon there in New Orleans, but I would say DK Metcalf is the best receiver between the two teams. And also you look at the receiving tight ends. Pat Freiermuth is definitely the best receiving option at tight end compared to what the Saints have to work with right now. And for as much as we want to complain about the Steelers wide receiver room, I would take the Steelers wide receiver room right now with Metcalf, Austin, Woods, and of course Roman Wilson over what the Saints have in Olave, Rashid Shaheed, an old Brandon Cooks, Bub Means. Neither group is fantastic, but if I'm Rodgers, I'm comparing the weapons groups. I'm picking the Pittsburgh Steelers personally. And also there was a report today from Andrew Filipponi that he has heard that Aaron Rodgers has allegedly joined the Nevilleville Country Club, which is a suburban golf country club in Pittsburgh. All right, so it certainly seems like there are signs that he is preparing to move his life to Pittsburgh eventually. There was a report that he had bought a house in Pittsburgh, in the Pittsburgh suburbs. Now there's a report that he's joining the Pittsburgh Country Club in Nevilleville. And, I just think that with him working out with DK Metcalf and all these different signs that we have been getting from Aaron Rodgers that he's going to be coming to Pittsburgh, I think it's pretty darn clear at this point that he's coming. Because this obviously hasn't told the Steelers that he's not. I mean, the Steelers clearly feel like he is going to eventually sign on the dotted line, and all the conversations that they've had with Rodgers to this point indicate that he's going to sign with the Steelers at some point. He just has certain things that he wants to do in the offseason before he makes the final commitment of signing on the dotted line. So as much as it's frustrating to wait and have patience that Aaron Rodgers is going to sign with this team, all signs still point to Rodgers signing with the Pittsburgh Steelers at some point this offseason. We still don't know when that's going to be. It could be 1 hour from now, or it could be a month from now. We still don't know the answer to that question. Only Aaron and maybe the Steelers know the answer to that question at this point, but I definitely don't think that the Saints are necessarily a team that's going to threaten the Steelers to steal Aaron Rodgers at this point in the offseason, especially now because head coach of the Saints, Kellen Moore, has said that they're going to roll with the guys that they have. They're going to have a three-way starting quarterback competition this offseason between Tyler Shuck, of course, Spencer Rattler and Jake Haener. So it doesn't seem like they're too interested in adding like a 41-year-old Aaron Rodgers at this point in time, and I don't blame them for not pursuing kind of a win-now option at quarterback like Aaron Rodgers. Now, another popular rumor that has been surfacing here on Steelers Twitter is a potential trade for Chris Olave, of course, the number one receiver there in New Orleans. So once again, let's ask the question: is this something that could actually happen for the Pittsburgh Steelers? I think the answer to that question, guys, is likely no. Olave is an awesome player. I don't want to make it seem like I don't want Olave. If he's available, I'm definitely trying to make something happen here, especially for the right price tag. He's only 24 years old. He's a fantastic route runner. He had the best contested catch rate of his entire career last year. And, with you having that big-bodied X-receiver in DK Metcalf, having that true Z in Chris Olave at Z would be awesome. Would be an awesome pairing for probably the next at least half decade here in Pittsburgh. Combining DK Metcalf and Chris Olave would be one of the best wide receiver duos in all of football. So I don't want to make it seem like I wouldn't be excited or I wouldn't want to trade for Chris Olave. But he does have a lengthy concussion history. Now, that's partly with Derek Carr to blame because he gave him some hospital shots that put him in some tough situations, ended up getting some concussions throughout his career. And the most he's ever played in an NFL season is 11 games. He's only played 3 years, but the most he's ever played is 11 games. I think the other 2 years he played in 8, which was last year, and then 9 his rookie season. So he's somebody that has had trouble staying on the field. Also, he's got 2 years left on his rookie contract. The Saints did pick up his 5th-year option this year, so he's still got 2 years of contract control there with the Saints, and his cap hit's only $6 million. So the Saints have a really affordable, really young, good number one receiver on their roster, and with Derek Carr leaving, and you're going to be having a young quarterback in there. I don't know if it's a good idea to get rid of that new quarterback's number one target when they're going to be looking to prove themselves as an NFL starter heading into the year. I mean, you look at the rest of the wide receiver room that the Saints have. Brandon Cooks, Rashid Shaheed is a pretty decent piece, but definitely not a number one. Bub Means, Cedric Wilson Jr. Like, you take Chris Olave out of this room, and it's definitely not a great wide receiver group. I mean, like I said earlier, I would take the Pittsburgh Steelers wide receiver room over what the New Orleans Saints have right now. So to get rid of your bona fide number one guy that is still very cheap against your cap just doesn't really seem like a sound move to me. Unless they're just really concerned about the concussions and they really just want to start over and they really want to embrace a full rebuild here. It just doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me. If I were in the shoes of the New Orleans Saints, I'm keeping Chris Olave for at least one more season, and then maybe I think about trading him on his final year of his rookie contract next year if he doesn't work out with the new quarterback. But because it doesn't really make a ton of sense for them to trade him right now. If they are willing to trade him, I think it's going to be an extremely high price tag. It's going to be like a first or second round pick. And of course, the Steelers have a lot of compensatory picks, and they of course got a third round pick in exchange for George Pickens for next year's NFL draft. But you only have one first rounder and you only have one second rounder. So those are scarce resources there in the first two rounds still, even though you have a bunch of draft picks in rounds 3 through 6. I'm not sure if Omar Khan and the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to be willing to give up a first or a second round pick next year, especially because they're probably going to be looking for a quarterback next year. So, giving up that early round draft pick, I'm just not sure if that's something the Steelers are going to be looking at as something they're going to be willing to do. So although Chris Olave is a really, really good receiver, I do want to pump the brakes a little bit on that rumor. Plus, the person that's been pushing that rumor, NFL Notifications, has been known to put out fake reports and all this different stuff out there on Twitter. That's been pretty well documented. So I wouldn't take too much stock in what NFL Notifications has to say about who's getting traded, who's getting inquired about, all this different stuff. And at the end of the day here, like I said, I just don't think it makes a whole lot of sense for Olave to be dealt. So that's kind of what I wanted to talk about today, guys. Of course, rookie minicamp is still going on in Pittsburgh. It's been fun to watch Derek Harmon, Will Howard, Caleb Johnson, Y.A. Black work out in practice there in Pittsburgh this weekend. Of course, on Monday, I'll be back in studio to give you guys my full winners and losers list from the weekend there at rookie minicamp. So really do appreciate all of your guys' support. Make sure you click that subscribe button if you haven't already. Again, guys, if we get more Steelers news and rumors throughout the weekend, if Rodgers signs, whatever, we're going to have videos and we're going to have content for you guys ready and waiting for you here on the channel, 100% free. So make sure you click that subscribe button if you haven't already. That'll be it for me this afternoon, guys. I really do appreciate you guys stopping by and making it to the end of today's show. I will see you guys later. And until next time, here we go, Steelers.